Kevin.
I got you, Rich. I got.
Well, okay. Well, we have a double intro and the wrong intro both times. Well, at least I think it's the wrong intro. I prefer the Wookiee intro and the Kara outro. For those who haven't seen it, we have played it a number of times here recently. It's really for the blog on the blog that I do with Kevin. Once a week, but it is really spectacular. Anyway, it's good to be here. Family hour. We've got a full cast of characters up there without snow, which is a good thing. Kevin, how are you?
Doing
All
well.
good,
Doing
huh?
well.
Okay, you still got your eagle hanging in the tree?
Yeah, he's there today for sure.
Okay, yeah, showing him off.
No, this is a different shot. Front yard.
Okay, all right. And Captain Kirk, my count is that you only have one more session. Is that correct? One. I just thought that is terrific. And that's going to be what, on Monday?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow. You have got to be delighted.
Yeah.
You can't imagine.
Oh boy! And if they tell you, we want to go for another round, they say, no, I don't think so.
I tell them I got a short life, and I'll just take it the way it comes.
I'm going to take it. Yeah, I'm going to take it the way it comes. I'm going to take it from here. Thank you very much. But, no, thank you. Still got the 4 hairs that you inventoried at the beginning of this process?
I do. And right there, I had to go them down yet, so that's good.
Yeah. This week I have been looking at the beauty of Carmel. They really had some nice weather up there for the clam bake, the AT&T tournament at Pebble Beach. It was beautiful.
Yes, and then the sky fell out for the last 4 days.
Yeah, I guess it snowed for you, didn't it? It did. It actually snowed in Carmel?
It actually snowed. Tiny little bit. Stuck on the ground.
Wow, that is just that is truly amazing. That door behind you, Dr. Jeff, does not look like a hospital door, so you must be home again.
Home again.
Home again. Well, good. I'm glad that you're here. Do you have a decent week? Save a few people?
Catching up, taking care of things remotely, back in the hospital on Monday for a double. And so...
Does a double mean 16 hours or what?
A double means 2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks in a row without a day off.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And a shift for you is how many hours?
Between 10 and 12. And then if there are other complicating factors, I may receive 7 to 10 calls in the evening, so I have fractured sleep.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why to be a doctor, you still got to be young, right? You're still in your 30s, right?
Yeah. Yep. I might be in my 30s, but I act the way I act is the square root of my shoe size.
Forever young. That'll work. Forever young. JB, you're overlooking your vacation rental when is that the Blue Ridge Mountains that are behind you, or some semblance of that?
Okay.
Yeah, it's looks like a spectacular place. You got another one of Shannon's shirts?
No, this one's
Oh no. Okay. Oh yeah, there we go. All right. Well, all right. We're styling. And Bill, it's always nice to have you back. Good to see you.
Thank you, Yada. Shabbat shalom.
Yeah, Shabbat shalom. Look forward to doing this show. This is going to be an interesting reveal as we figure out who and why and when of the 89th Mizmowr, my favorite song of all time. And the things that we learned about it are so different than what I suspected. And we have the lovely Leah over here to my left. How are you, Leah?
I'm very well.
Yeah,
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Yeah, not even without a dog at the moment.
Yeah.
This is
They're roaming around.
Yeah, they're at my feet currently, and good to have you here. We're going to play one of your songs. We'll be back to you in just a second. And Rich over there, yeah, manipulating the controls. That's the our handsome king of the cables. Thank you, Rich, for not only getting this show, but you brought us online right on the money on time. I mean, going to have to get the big bucks for.
You have to ask Kevin who lost the bet, because I think they're betting on the side of did we start on time.
Did we start? The over and under on starting on time. I looked up; it was precise. So congratulations. It's not exactly easy. Look, we have 8 people that are part of this program. If I'm
And
counting
Leah
correctly.
is never on time.
Oh no, Leah is special in that regard.
Never on time.
Speaking of such things, you have written about I think it's 7 songs in the last couple of weeks, and the first of them came out, and they were reggae. They were,
Reggae, yeah.
They were. Oh gosh, they were so delightful and happy and upbeat and cultural and islandy. Haven't done visuals for those yet, so we're not going to play one of those. But my favorite of those is Babylon, probably your favorite of the three of that trilogy.
Mr. Babylon.
Yep, and then you came up. I don't know if it's 3, 4, 5 more where you've trained a very classical singer. And her
name is Shalomi.
Shalom, okay.
Shalomi.
Okay, Shalomi. And you've trained her, and she is just remarkable.
She's a beautiful
and I think you now
voice.
have 2 of those additional 4 that you have a graphic score for.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
All right. And we're going to hear one of those 2 today. Although I think your favorite of the 4 is still being scored.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to have a Leah song, and is it Love in the Sea?
This is Love in the Sea.
Right. Tell us about it.
I wrote this song after finding out about Mizmowr 116. And I had felt profoundly weighted by everything that I had learned. And I just sat down and wrote. That's how I deal with the feelings. And the words just came out. I think I stayed up till 3 a.m. writing it.
You have become a night owl. You're working around the clock without ceasing. I don't know if you know this or not, and you would have no reason to know it unless you're reading as fast as I'm writing. And we won't get to it tonight because I think it's around the 9th, 10th verses of the 89th Mizmowr. But we're reviewing that, and I'm taking a much more comprehensive analysis of it because of the import of it, both for today and for 3,000 years ago. And what the most interesting thing is there's an interlude in it where after Eythan Ha'Ezraky speaks of Yahweh's nature, and talking about how loving Yahweh is and how Yahweh is reliable. He's always trustworthy, and so we can depend upon him. He then has Yahweh make an opening statement about Dowd being his chosen one. Dowd is the one through whom he enabled the benefits of the covenant, and that Dowd is the one through whom he worked, which is, a pretty good thing. You're going to have, a resume builder.
That's it. That'd be the one.
A pretty good start to a sound resume. And then he goes on and says again that Yahweh is loving and he's trustworthy, so that we can depend on what God just said. And then what he does is he tries to garner Dowd's trust. So it's one thing for Dowd to trust Yahweh, which he had fallen out of the relationship with Yahweh, and that needed to be reestablished. So it was important for him to reestablish Yahweh's credentials. But Eythan Ha'Ezraky is delivering this to Dowd. And in delivering it to Dowd, he wants Dowd to know that he is not just some schmo that slunk in and unannounced off the street, that he can do with what he wants. He says, and I want to tell you a little bit about me, pal. I want to tell you exactly who I am. And and what he says is that he comes out of the sea
That's right.
and in the west, and that he is very abrasive, exceedingly agitating and aggressive, and that it's his purpose is to wear out and wear down the religious antagonists, so that the folks in the land are more receptive to God's message, and that he's this is just like throwing rocks in a turbulent wave of the sea, constantly banging against the shore. And he starts there and says that Yahowah actually lauds this. Yahowah is in full support. He is actually over the top in his support of this man and of what he represents, coming from the west and out of the sea. But then it goes into something that is just mind-boggling, that I had never even contemplated. And by the time we get there actually is a name for the person that Christians call the Antichrist.
Mm-hmm.
There is a name for this individual that is the integration between a man and Satan. And it's very clear when you look at the 4 prophecies regarding him, which are introduced in the 89th Mizmowr. His name is Rahab. And Rahab is a man who is demon possessed with Satan himself. And he is thwarted by another character that we know quite well. The Zeroah is the one who takes him down. Mm-hmm. And so so this man from the sea has quite a role pursuant to Dowd's restoration, and he interrupts the whole flow of this thing right early on to say, you need to know I've got some skin in the game here, and that when I'm going to tell you about yourself, you need to know that I'm going to be with you every step of the way. And so it's a real eye opener. But anyway, it happens to be he comes out of the sea.
That's right. Love and the sea is the weightiness of our job together.
That it is.
And with that, should we play the song?
Yes, let's do.
Okay.
Wonderful. That's a beautiful song, well scored, beautifully presented. I love the lyrics. I would say, what is the one thing that has caressed and also eroded Israel's shores for the past 6,000 years?
Water.
The sea, yeah.
The sea?
The sea, right? Yeah.
Yep. That is why we use the metaphor. And what side of Israel is the sea?
On the west.
It's on the west.
West, yeah.
Indeed. And so Yahowah is saying, I started this whole process with Gowym. Yehudim and Yisrael, my chosen people, I started this process with Gowym. Everybody initially was a Goy. I'm going to finish it with Gowym. And it is a man from the sea, a Goy, that caresses the shores of Israel after he has broken up the all of those jagged places of religion and politics. And it is love. God's love for his people that has put the Goy in the position to do this, and the Goy's love for Yahowah, his beloved son, his people, and his message, his covenant family that has caused this to be relentless, steadfast, just as one wave follows another. And one wave has followed another over time. For all of that period of time. There was a lyric in there that no one probably would appreciate but me, but you know how Olam is used throughout the Hebrew text to speak of forever? That's not actually its primary meaning.
Nope.
Past.
It means from
All
antiquity.
Yeah.
It's from antiquity.
Forward.
Forward through futurity.
Yes.
And so it is a long view of time. It is speaking of the very individual and the way that God went about keeping his people and his plan on track. Is from antiquity all the way through futurity. God is a master of time and knows how to use souls inserted in time to accomplish what he wishes to do so that we all have more time.
I only laugh because he invented both. Of course he
Yeah. So it is. It's a marvelous, a marvelous lyric. And I think that that line about we will proclaim Yahweh's name is probably the most beautiful presentation yet of proclaiming Yahweh's name. You've done a marvelous job of training, if you will, Shalomeh, to pronounce Yahweh's name, and her vocal qualities are really marvelous. But those are lyrics that you wrote the lyrics, you created the melody, you chose the instrumentation, you trained the voice, and caused all of that to come together, and that's one of 7 songs in the last few weeks.
7.
And we ought to appreciate the Yahowah's love of songs. His favorite person in the world was a songwriter and a singer, Dowd. And when you look at the treasure trove of the Dead Sea Scrolls, it's the songs that are the most dominant in them. There are more copies of the Psalms and the Dead Sea Scrolls than there are Isaiah scrolls. The great prophet, there's more than there are Torah scrolls. So it's God has a love affair with the song, the songwriter, the lyrics of songs, and the fact that when you sing a message like that, it becomes more enduring. It's a beautiful mix of brilliance and beauty and emotion. It's
emotional intelligence.
Yeah, it's emotional intelligence, and it's presented in a way that's far more compelling and memorable than any other form. So
they have staying
really
power
is.
Too. You look back throughout history of how much of history is put into music. I mean, even children's songs and stuff, so that people remember. They don't know what it's about, but everybody knows the song. London Bridge is falling down, whatever song you want to talk, that their songs are telling a story, and they have staying power. I think Dowd was very smart about that, about, instead of just writing, he put them to music so that they would go ad Olam.
Yeah, I remember that when I was a very young man, there was one song that stayed with me all of my life, and I don't know the artist that performed it. I guess that's not very good of me, but it's a Rudyard Kipling poem based on Helen of Troy. If a face can launch 1,000 ships, then where am I to go? The love I've come to know. It's written very similarly to what you have done. It's about a voyage on the sea, and about the love causing people to seek each other and to explore the world. So that's my favorite of all time, and very similar theme here. So hard to beat that. It's kind of like trying to start a show, the vlog on the blog after Wookie's erudite introduction. You say, how do we beat that? Guys, maybe we should say thank you very much. It's been a lovely program. Let's play the song as an outro, and why ruin a good thing, right?
All right. Yeah.
It'll be a short night.
We shall press on. We shall press on.
We shall press on.
I would like to say, Craig
yes.
and Leah, that when we want to speak about Eythan Ha'Ezraky and Amah and Habel, that this past week in Mizmowr 9, Dowd recognizes Yada. That was his Dowd's ode to May Dowd, recognizing you as being kabod. And it just it fits in well with the reward which you presented in the last few days of Mizmowr 116, and the terms such as shalem, to finish the job.
To finish the job.
Chesed.
Shalem is such a powerful term, and it was used so beautifully by him. But that is the essence of what God wants from us. Such a simple thing. But that is the essence of what he wants from us, is to shalom, to finish the job. We can do that. We're going to do that. He did not.
Might I say, as a son, also the term yachar, respected, valued. What was poured out as a result of initiating with Mizmowr 89, culminating in Mizmowr 116, just as a justification. The word justification doesn't do justification to the word justification.
116, which is the subject of our family hour last week, is the greatest triumph words could possibly allow. Dowd says that he is, yes, I am Yahweh's co-worker. Yes, I am going to sacrifice my body for the greater good, and I can't wait to do it. I know I'm going to be the Passover lamb. He says, I'm fully aware that my soul is going into Sheol. I know what the purpose is. I know how I'm going to fulfill matzah, and I'm ready to go. Put me in, coach. Let's go. It is so comprehensive and so complete, really, of everything that we have come to recognize and appreciate about Dowd, that ultimately he finished the job. He, in a second of 3 lives, he got up and got going, and he fulfilled Pesach. He was crucified, fulfilling Pesach, sacrificing his body, and his soul took our guilt into Sheol on matzah, and he affirmed his role as the firstborn son of God by fulfilling firstborn children on Bikurim, all in 33 CE, year 4000 Yah. And the 116th Mizmowr affirms all of that. It celebrates it. It is literally a feast for the eyes and ears about all Dowd represents as our Savior. And him knowing it and him being all in, saying, God, I know this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I want to do, and I'm delighted to be your coworker. Let's go.
What's amazing is that Amah, with her Baal, initiated the whole process. And then Eythan Ha'Ezraky delivers Mizmowr 89. And then Mizmowr 116, 17, when the words come out of Dowd, Zabak, Zabak.
Yeah.
That just gives me shivers down my spine. That's just beyond what words can do justice for.
It's the great joy of being where we are and doing what we're doing, that you get to discover things that have always been there, but no one has seen, and yet are remarkably beautiful. And this transition from Dowd with his wonderful 48 years to him in his 56th falling flat, and you see what he did that was so horrible. And then you see him in the 51st Mizmowr blaming God, lashing out. He's suffering from depression. He's suffering from alcoholism. He's suffering from prioritizing the physical over the spiritual. He is really sunk. And then you read the last word picture, this 31st Mashal, and you hear the story of Dowd celebrating the arrival of his adoptive mother and what she represents, and how she told him, listen, first thing we got to do, we got to have you figure out who you are. So I'm going to ask you this question 3 different times over so that you come to grips with who you are. And then you need to stop drinking. No more wine. Wine isn't for you. And then you need to think about what you can do with that bashar, body, that is so much better than what you have been squandering it on. And think about what you can accomplish. And then she says, I'm going to clean you up. I'm going to get you all properly attired. This is going to pass, and you're going to rise again. And she gave him the motherly pep talk. But that was not enough to transition from the 51st Psalm to the 116th. And so that's how I came back to the 89th. It became obvious to me that the only thing that was capable of bridging that gap was the 89th Mizmowr, and that it wasn't something that was inspired by Yahowah 4 years after Dowd had passed in year 3000 Yah, 968 BCE, as the cornerstone of the temple was being laid. No, it was delivered to Dowd while he was still well into his first of 3 lives. And it was used to get Dowd back on track. So that's when he wrote his most important songs. And it was used to prepare and raise Solomon so that he was positioned to do what he did. And it was God's way of saying, no, I'm going to have your back. I'm actually convinced, and I'm sure that I'm going to find it. In fact, I've already found hints of it. But when Dowd showed up 1,000 years later to fulfill Pesach, Matzah, and Mekurim, and arrived 3 to 4 years prior to the fulfillment in 33 CE, I'll bet you anything that he wasn't alone. I bet there was somebody else with him. It's just not God's way. He is a king. What do kings know about being all by yourself? Kings have somebody for everything, right? They even have guys to fetch him a cup of water. So he had to have somebody who would do the laundry, who would make the tent. He had to have somebody that was there that he knew he could trust, that he would just be comfortable with, and so that it wouldn't be so frightening knowing what he was up against. And saying, I know what you're going to do. I'm going to do it too. So, this is your time. A couple thousand years from now, it'll be my time, and you'll be there for me. So we'll get each other through this. So I think
I would have I would have a different take on that. I mean,
Mhm.
Dowd at 8 years old was a shepherd living out with this. He could take care of himself. I think he had people go back with him to keep him from. I mean, he shows up and there's Romans and Judea. I mean, he could lose his stuff. He's got to hold it together for 3 years. He's got to be not out picking fights. He's got to not be, hey, let's clear these suckers out of here.
He was a fighter.
He's going to need some
he had
people to hold
to
him
calm
back.
it down.
Yeah.
Right. He had somebody to hold him back. Yeah. Now, Dowd was a shepherd. Rich, when I mentioned this to him earlier today, because I think that the role that supportive player of Dowd in those 3.5, 4 years was likely the Ibn, who wrote the Sermon on the Mount and the Olivet Discourse. But Dowd was a shepherd at 8 years old. He was 70 by the time that it was his first life was over. He was so far away from shepherding sheep by the time that was done. I mean,
Right.
yeah, I'm sorry, but when you read what he was doing in 2 Samuel 6, 7, 8, 11, and 12, how he responded to the Absalom rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
He was not self-sufficient.
Yeah, the calluses were gone by then. Yeah.
The calluses were gone, my friend. And it's just, with style, he's not going to allow anybody to be left alone. Dowd was in a terrible way. He was suffering from depression. It happens to most everybody at one time in their life. And he was self-medicating with wine. And he was trying to, there's so many people that just life is meaningful. And so they'll sex themselves darn near to death. And that was happening too. And he shirked all of his responsibilities. So I think that it would have been wise, even with Dowd recovering fully, as a result of the 89th Mizmowr that he was accompanied. I'll go and read more, and my guess is we'll find it. It'll be there. We just missed it because we weren't looking for it previously. Because in this particular time, I think that Eythan Ha'Ezraky is a descriptive title of a man that Dowd had met a number of years earlier when he was relocating the Ark of the Covenant into Jerusalem. I think he's Obed-Edom. And, Obed means the one working, and Edom means man. And so he's the one working for man. He's the one working for mankind, serving mankind is that name. And we're going to find out what Eythan Ha'Ezraky means in a moment. So the first time that I translated what I thought was Dowd's song, the 89th Mizmowr, was for the initial volume of Coming Home. Coming Home, volume 1 was the, here I have it. Yep, absolutely. There we go. It is in this volume. This is Coming Home, volume 1, and that's where we're going to find the first time that I translated the 89th Mizmowr. I remember translating it because my wife, Leah, was just like beside herself. I was in the midst of writing something else, and I wanted to finish it, and I just had projects up to here, and you can do 2 or 3 things at once, but you can't do 10. And she said, no, this is the answer. This is the most amazing thing you have ever read in your life. You need to deal with this. So this is the 89th Psalm. Translate it now. Incorporate. I don't care what book you're writing. Work it into that book. Stop everything else. Do it now. And that found its way into Coming Home, Volume 1. Now, you'll find it also because I fell in love with it. You'll find it in the To Dowd or Not to Dowd chapter of that. So it's towards the end of the Coming Home Volume 1. And since that time, the 89th Mizmowr has become the cornerstone of really everything that I've come to know and say. It's how I came to recognize that Dowd is the Messiah and Son of God, who is our Savior, who fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bokodim in his second of 3 lives. So it's the key that unlocks the greatest discovery in human history, the most valuable discovery regarding life. So I've come to view it as second only in importance to the Torah. And as a result, you'll find it featured in Yahowah volumes 4, 5, 7, and 9. So that's another 4 times on top of the 1. So we're at 5 already. It's in Twistianity because it completely negates the Christian religion in volumes 1, 3, and 5. It's found in volume 1 of Babel. It's found in volume 5 of Observations. And I repeated it in volume 3 of Coming Home. And now I'm writing it again in volume 4 of Coming Home.
Just for good measure.
Somebody would say that might say I have an obsession with this. And I do. And I do. It is here that we find absolute and irrefutable affirmation from Yahowah that Dowd is the chosen one, that he is the firstborn son of God, that he is the anointed Messiah, that he is the sacrificial lamb. He's the exemplar of the covenant. He is the one through whom the covenant was enabled. He is our Savior. He is the returning king. And even more, Yahowah refers to Dowd as Elyon, which is all things pertaining to the hand and influence of Almighty God. Now, that's a complete resume. His throne, which is the mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant, will be as brilliant as the sun upon his return on Yom Kipurym in year 6000 Yah, which is 6:22 p.m. as the sun begins to set in Jerusalem, October 2nd, 2033. Now, obviously, I didn't present the entire song on every occasion, typically highlighting portions of the 89th Psalm that were pertinent to the subject being discussed at that time in those volumes. And as a result, I usually skipped past the introduction. Now, not only because I didn't fully appreciate its contribution to the story, but also because I instinctively knew that Eythan Ha'Ezraky was a message. It's not a name. It tells us something special about the author, the co-author, really, of this song. Surely the most inspiring lyrics ever composed. I'm sorry, Leah, but I do have a preference. I love your songs, but I still think the 89th is the most inspiring lyrics ever written. Now, it might be a little tougher to put it to a melody, but
no, I could put that to a melody.
Okay, well, you're going to get the chance. So they were not co-authored or delivered by someone so insignificant that there was only one other mention elsewhere in the prophets or the writings of this man's existence. And so I began to say, did that other occurrence, if we really examine it, does it tell us who he actually is and what he was doing in the concluding years of Dowd's first life? Does it bridge the gap between father and son and father and son? At long last, I now know who Eythan Ha'Ezraky is, and soon, well, you will too. The answer is initially delivered in 1 Malachim 4. That would be 1 Kings in the 4th chapter. Now, this is what it says. This is really interesting. So God gave, appointing and providing, from Nathan, cerebral acumen and the capacity for wisdom, insights, and understanding by filtering and processing information, Chokmah, in proximity to Shalomo, which means complete and rational appreciation of reconciliation, along with comprehension and insights deduced from a logical analysis of reasoned instruction and through intelligent connections, providing this for his benefit in an ongoing, increasingly significant, frequent, and very demonstrable manner. A breadth and full measure of thoughts and emotions, of the inclinations and the motivations of the heart and the mind, especially judgment, comparable to the whirling and loose granular sand, which showing the way to the benefits of the relationship was upon the lip, and therefore the words spoken by the one from the sea. Now, there's more, but that's Malachim, 1 Kings 4:29. So
I wonder who that guy could be.
So the first thing is that I have come to realize, having done this job now for 25 years, and having studied everybody that's a significant player in God's story, that there isn't a single experience of a data dump where God says, "You be wise," and you were wise. He says, no reason to read, no reason to, toss the Torah. You don't need the Torah. I've just given you the data. Start speaking. Wind the monkey up. God never does that, ever.
Now, the closest you
Look
got
at
to that
Moshe.
is
How long did
Moses.
Moshe spend before he even came down and said anything to anybody on
40
the top?
days.
Yeah. 40 days on Mount Torah, one-on-one with Yah before he came down. And he only came down with parts of Barashith initially. The rest of the Torah was played out over time, over 40 years. And the last book of it represents what Moshe learned that he thought was important for the people to know. And so I'm going to tell you that he didn't do a data dump with Moshe. He most certainly didn't do a data dump with Dowd. It was learning, growing, experiencing. The 119th Mizmowr that is so rich in its understanding of the Torah, or the 19th that's great in its summation of it. It's after studying these things. And so with Solomon, God didn't say, "Solomon, you be wise." No, this is how it happened. So let's go through that again, because it was a process. And when you think it through based on what this says, I think the only reasonable connection that you can draw is that he had a mentor. He had a teacher. So God gave appointing and providing cerebral acumen, the capacity for wisdom, insights, and understanding by filtering and processing information in proximity to Shalomo, complete appreciation of reconciliation, along with comprehension and insights deduced from a logical analysis of reasoned instruction through intelligent connections. In other words, his mentor taught him how to think, providing this for his benefit in an ongoing, increasingly significant, frequent, and very demonstrable manner. Harba ma'od. A breadth and full measure of thoughts and emotions, of inclinations and motivations of the heart and mind, especially judgment. Comparable to the whirling and loose granular sand, which showing the way to the benefits of the relationship was on the lip, and therefore the words spoken by the one from the sea. I think we have a candidate.
I think I do.
But he was instructed. So the very person we're going to find that delivered, and not just delivered the 89th Mizmowr, co-authored it, to restore Dowd's relationship with Yahowah, so that Dowd would serve as the Passover lamb and fulfill matzah, and therefore keep the world, this planet, from devolving into total death and destruction, is the same guy that worked to help Solomon be perceived as wise, to help him think. And, for a little while, it worked with Solomon. He fell off the wagon too, but it did.
Yeah,
work
he did later.
Yeah.
But Solomon did judge between two women correctly, I might add. And he, as far as I know, only wrote really one thing on his own.
We're going to find that Eythan Ha'Ezraky is responsible for 30 mashal, and that Solomon has one to his credit.
Yeah.
How many are there?
31.
31.
There we go. I do think that Solomon actually wrote something else. I think Solomon wrote the Song of Songs.
Absolutely.
And finally now I'm understanding who he wrote the Song of Songs to. It was a love song because he was approached by a man and a woman, a husband and wife, a surrogate mother and father. And he was celebrating the love that they modeled in his presence. So I think it is.
I used to hate that song. I read it in Hebrew and I said, this is a song to Asherah. 100%. This is a love song to Asherah.
And it is.
It is.
And
I didn't know who she was.
And it is.
Yeah.
And he uses the word Amma specifically.
Amma. Yahowah's productive mother.
Yeah.
Craig, can I ask,
Yes.
when do we think in the time frame of things that Echad Melakim Arba, one Kings 4, was written?
Well, it was this portion of it had to be written sometime before Dowd's passing and in his first life, and after Shlomo's birth.
So much after Bathsheba,
somewhere in that period. Dowd is 56 when he and Bathsheba conceive.
It was no spring chicken.
Conceive Shlomo. He's born the following year. Dowd, his first of three lives ends when he's 70 years old, 14 years thereafter. And so, Solomon's not very old when he inherits the throne. I think he's 12? I mean, so he's a young boy. Okay, so it has to be somewhere in that period of time. So we're looking right around 1000 BCE to answer your question. And therefore, the mental dexterity, cerebral acumen, and the capacity for wisdom and understanding through filtering, knowing, and processing information. Chokmah again. Now, Chokmah is not just a flippant term that is thrown out occasionally in Hebrew, and it is specifically targeted towards the choder. When Dowd wrote of I guess it wouldn't be Dowd that wrote of the choder, but I thought it, since I've tried to credit the mashal to Dowd, but when the choder is being described in the 14th mashal, the very first thing is the choder's wife is
Chokmah.
Chokmah, and the Chokmah is mentioned 5 times in the prose. And when you come to the choder in Yeshaya 11, it is the very first attribute that the Spirit provides after being designated the very Spirit of Yahowah. So it is exceedingly important to Yahowah to have a person who is adroit as it comes to
who can think.
Chokmah, and his wife is also Chokmah. And so therefore, the mental dexterity, the cerebral acumen, the capacity for wisdom and understanding through knowing, filtering, and processing information of Shlomo, complete and rational source of restoration, was increased significantly. Not by magic. We've now heard about this relentless, ongoing, steadfast, demonstrable process that led to it. Beyond and differentiated from the wisdom, insights, and understanding of all of the other sons of antiquity before time, after time. And also beyond all of the mental dexterity, cerebral acumen, and the capacity for intelligent processing information, Chokmah again, adversely bound up in Mitzrayim, representing oppressive and troubling religious and political regimes. So the greatest knowledge repository of man at the time was considered to be Egypt, which is Mitzrayim, but it stands for anything that is oppressive religiously or politically, which is all human civilizations at the time. He was wiser than anyone from any one of those places, and really the totality of them. He was actually and continually, skillfully, and prudently, wisely and rationally taught. That's that magic word right there, to deduce and comprehend insights. Chokmah. That's not Chokmah now. We are now dealing with a verb. This is the process of teaching someone
How to think.
How to think.
How to think.
Of everything pertaining to mankind, and all of this from this one man. Min Kol Ha-Adam. All of it from one man. From Eythan Ha'Ezraky.
Ding, ding, ding.
Eythan means
Eythan.
the perpetually reoccurring. Perpetually reoccurring.
Leolam, Leolam,
Yeah.
Leolam, Leolam, Leolam.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yahweh's brilliant.
This was not his first rodeo.
Or hers.
Or hers. Okay. This was not his first. He perpetually reoccurring means for a very, very long time in antiquity and for a very long time into the future. The perpetually reoccurring and continuously deployed. The long established and perennially unrelenting.
Yep, that sums it up.
Pretty much sums it up. At that point, I said, I think I know who that is.
But wait, there's more.
Oh, but there's more.
Yes,
that's
wait,
that's Eythan.
Yeah, that's Eythan.
He is Ha'Ezraky. He's the. You read this and you say, "Okay, God, you're just cheating." And it's like, it's like, what are they in the video? I've never played video games, but they have what do they call them in video game?
Cheat code.
Cheat codes.
Cheat
Yeah,
code.
cheat codes in a video game where you can get more lives or more power or whatever it might be. That's kind of what I felt like when I was reading this. Like, okay, I'm a player in a video game, and God's got all the codes. Okay, Ha'Ezraky, the one springing up as a tree.
Oh,
Now, normally you'd say, "Oh, come on, tree. Why do you call me a tree?" Well, the fact is that we know that the role that I'm playing is the tree of knowledge that leads back to the tree of lives, and we know that the Choder is presented as the branch from a tree, and he has roots, and he is an observant branch, and he's even with two of the seven spirits. He is called the tree of counsel, of Dayat, of knowledge. So, yep, Ha'Ezraky is the one springing up as a tree, coming forth prepared to shine at the right moment with logical expressions regarding the overall sequence of events. Pretty much sums it up there,
A
folks.
little bit.
Didn't see
Captain
any wiggle
Obvious.
room at all.
But God wasn't done.
Yeah.
Hyman, the one I confirmed would support me. The one I confirmed would support me. Kelkol, to comprehend the full measure of things and to complete the mission.
again, shalom, shalom,
Darda,
shalom.
the generational source of knowledge. The offspring, Makol, brought forth to question the twisting and anguishing travail of men. All right.
So that's
God,
three
so-
different.
Pardon?
That's three different people then, right?
Nope.
No,
One
okay.
person.
They're all-
That is who he is. He is defined by Eythan Ha'Ezraky, by Hyman, by
Kokol.
Kokol, and by Danda. So I'll read that again. It's one person. It's just an ongoing definition of that person. God's going to say, I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know about this. So he was actually and continually, skillfully and prudently, wisely and rationally taught to deduce and comprehend insights of everything pertaining to mankind, and all from this one man. From Eythan, the perpetually reoccurring and continuously deployed, the long established and perennially unrelenting Ha'Ezraky, the one springing up as a tree, coming forth prepared to shine at the right moment with logical expressions regarding the entire sequence of events. Hyman, the one confirmed who would support me. Kalkol, to comprehend the full measure of things and to complete the mission. Darda, the generational source of knowledge, the offspring of Makol, brought forth to question the twisting and anguishing travail of men.
Twisting. Great touch.
Captain Obvious.
Yes,
yeah.
Twistianity, goddamn religion and Islam. Yeah, that's pretty much
Yeah.
it. Correctly accused, as they say, I represent that statement.
This is like a
Yeah.
case of being Captain Obvious.
Yeah, being a little Captain Obvious.
Yeah.
But we all missed it. And so his name, his proper designation and reputation, his renown, his calling and conspicuous position would exist throughout time. Among all the Gowym, the non-Yisraelites who turn around and are brought round. It says that he was known among Gowym. Ain't that interesting? And that he would exist throughout time. Then he conveyed, narrating 30 instructive mashal word pictures as memorable and wise parables and proverbs to inspire astute leadership.
Oh, my.
And his songs, remember that, songs about this journey through life will be 5. Each bullish for the tribe, learned and instructive, empowering 1,000-fold. He will continuously speak of and concerning the Eshem, the trees, including the one reaffirmed as the stoutest of them, who, for the benefit of the relationship, is with those who are purified and white, inclusive of the restoring witness of Ephod. Pay attention to that too. It comes back around. Hyssop.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Which, to show the way, comes out and is extended, withdrawn to serve, descending, and produced as part of the supportive structure, the walls, the ceiling, the floor, the rafters, the beams, all of the home. And he will continually speak against the beasts to mute them, and over and about that which takes flight, even in opposition to the creepy creatures slithering about, and on behalf of that which multiplies and increases, causing incremental and exponential growth. Malachim, 1 Kings 4:33. So Yahowah has never provided, as I've said, a data dump. It's not his style. He does not shortchange the process of learning, because that's the fun of it. And if you don't engage in the learning, then knowledge is of no use to you. You have no value for it. We become Chokmah wise by observing the information God has provided, closely examining and thoughtfully considering it, and then making the connections which lead to understanding. It is a process, the one that is the result of filtering through the available information in a disciplined and rational manner, just as this narrative suggests, just as I have been doing for the past 25 years. Chokmah is actually the result of tamuna, of logically deducing intelligent insights by making rational connections. And it was Eythan Ha'Ezraky who harbe significantly and frequently schooled Shalomo in this mental discipline, doing so in a very demonstrable manner. One grain of sand whirling about in the breeze does not a beachhead make, but billions will eventually reveal the benefits of the relationship. This is what was imparted from the lip of the man who emerged metaphorically from the sea to restore the judgment of the king and to inspire another who would rise upon his fall. Solomon's wisdom grew over time as it was cultivated, increasing beyond those who had preceded him. Eventually, as a result of the instruction of a continuously deployed man renowned for his logical expressions, the boy would be king grew in understanding well beyond that amassed by the oppressive and troubling religious and political realm of Mitzrayim. In the verbal form, Chokmah reveals that Shlomo was taught to be wise, receiving instruction on how to rationally deduce logical insights and to be discerning and prudent. Further, he learned what he came to know about men from one man, Eythan Ha'Ezraky, the perpetually reoccurring and continually deployed, long established and perennial unrelenting one, who sprung up as a tree, coming forth prepared to shine at the right moment with logical expressions regarding the entire sequence of events. You see, Eythan Ha'Ezraky was a man whose reputation preceded him, and one whose renown would follow him throughout time. Second only to Dowd, and through a host of names and titles in addition to this one, just like Dowd, the person acclaimed for his teaching of Solomon and revealing the 89th Psalm for Dowd is the most frequently mentioned player in Yahweh's entire story. Of him, God revealed that his name, reputation, and renown, even his calling and position, would be recognized throughout time, particularly among the Gowym, who came around to Yahowah as a result of his message. I know some of them. Well, I realize that most have been led to believe that it was Shlomo who wrote 3,000 Proverbs and 1,005 Psalms. The last name mentioned was Eythan Ha'Ezraky's, not Solomon's. And as numbers, they are completely out of sync with reality. Not only are there only 31 Proverbs, not 3,000 of them, which is just 1% of that total, 1%. And 150 Psalms, barely 15% of the other. All of the Mizmowr are personally, most all of them are personally credited to Dowd. And Solomon wasn't in a position to provide any parental guidance, which is the essence of the Mashal. He was just a wee lad when he became king, and by the time that he became a parent, he was off his rocker. He didn't write them. Therefore, just as it is made irrefutably evident in the dedication of the 89th Mizmowr that it was provided by Eythan Ha'Ezraky, as the last man mentioned, it is evident that he is being credited with writing 30 of the 31 Proverbs, and that he is being credited with writing 30 of the 31 Proverbs and having been claimed, I guess I should say with one being claimed by Solomon, that would be all of them, wouldn't it? And it makes perfect sense since he is the husband of Dowd's surrogate mother, and Yada is literally defined by Eythan Ha'Ezraky. It is the advice provided to Dowd and then Solomon regarding Yahowah that this is proclaiming. Now, while Mashal proverb is definitive, sure is not to be confused with Mizmowr psalm. Its actionable root, sure, speaks of sharing one's journey through life. Ain't that interesting? And that being the case, there were 5 occasions when his travel through time were pertinent to share with father and son. Further, in the Meskel, the circumspect and insightful betrayal of Dowd, in 89th Mizmowr, written by Eythan, the opening verb is, guess what? Sure. I'm sure it's just a coincidence, right?
Sure.
Bringing the historical portrait and life journey together. Now, I'm convinced that these began with Chanoch, with Enoch. in mankind's first millennia. His name we will reconsider momentarily, especially because of the way it mirrors Eythan's. Same name. Same meaning, anyway. He was next inserted into the timeline on the occasion of Moshe's meltdown, along with Dowd. With my Dowd and El Dowd, Yahowah was letting Moshe know that if he got the Israelites to the promised land, he had a couple of guys lined up to take it from there. And while nothing they said was recorded on the occasion, their message was detailed and retained pursuant to the fulfillment of Yahowah's timeline when they visited with Daniel as Michael, right about God, and Gabriel, God's most competent and courageous man. And by the way, with the mention of Hyssop, I think it is likely that Eythan Ha'Ezraky, by whatever name, was actually inserted into the story prior to the 11th chapter of Numbers, which took place a few days out of Choreb, where they were introduced as spirit-filled and speaking prophetically for Yahowah. Moshe was persona non grata, not just with the Egyptians, but with his own people. And he was going to need some help. And when you mention Hyssop, Hyssop was how the blood of the Passover lamb was placed on the doorway to life. And he is identified here specifically with Hyssop. And he will be identified with Hyssop in the sacrifice of the animal parah. Hyssop plays a big role in this individual. I think that we will find as we go through the text more and more that Yahowah didn't let Moshe hang out there on his own. That he had someone working for him, just stood in the background, because this wasn't about him, it was about Moshe and about the children of Israel and getting them out of harm's way. But there was somebody there supporting him, and it's indicated by the Hyssop, in my view. So there is a growing and overwhelming evidence that the third deployment of the soul of Chanoch, Enoch, aligned with year 3000 Yah. On this occasion, he served as a surrogate father during Dowd's at least last 4 years, and maybe for a longer period than that, at least of his first life, and as Shalomo's grandfather during his first 4 years as king, and maybe a little longer, during which time he would have reinstated Dowd's reputation with Yahowah, taught Shalomo Chokmah, and written the 89th Mizmowr, along with 30 Mashal Proverbs. And at the pace that he writes, that's a reasonable accomplishment for that amount of time. He is verbose. And there is every reason to suspect that the soul of Eythan Ha'Ezraky may have been inserted a decade earlier, such that he could have served as Obed-Edom when assisting Yahowah and Dowd in bringing the Ark of the Covenant into the Temple Mount and properly positioning it within the tent of the restoring witness, as reported in 2 Samuel 6. It is what prompted Dowd to begin thinking about a more permanent home for the Ark, and Yahowah's amazing response in what heretofore has been my favorite prophecy, 2 Samuel 7. That's the one that brought us together, wasn't it? First one translated, most often translated, even more than this one in Mizmowr 89. So we are currently in the last days of the fourth deployment of Chanoch's Nefesh. This is a teaching opportunity that will conclude with the fulfillment of the fourth Moed, Shabuw'ah, where he serves as the one cultivating the harvest. Yada Yahowah and the Yahowah vlog represent the enduring legacy of this particular life. So in my fifth memorable deployment, my mission is to serve as one of the 2 final witnesses alongside Eliah, the only other man taken by Yahowah in this fashion. Nice tie-in, isn't there? Everybody's always known there needed to be a tie-in between Enoch and Eliah for that reason alone, and there is. Turns out there is. I will then fulfill the 5th Mikra on Yom Taruw'ah, the day of the herald, serving as the Adam Parah, this bullish man and productive individual, known then as the Choder, as the Nakar, as Yada, and the man from Edom. Now, I realize that Aleph is typically translated as 1,000, but it also means bull, who is instructive as a learned teacher on behalf of the tribe, empowering them 1,000-fold. Further, as the Etz Dayath, tree of knowledge, and the Choder stem as the Natsir, observant branch, he will continuously speak of, indeed, Etzim, trees. This even ties in with Ezraky because he springs forth as a tree. And according to the prophetic narrative, he doesn't just share what he has learned. His mission is to point out the more robust of the trees, the one he has reaffirmed as Etz Chatim, the tree of lives. Dowd, for fulfilling Passover. Having helped Dowd navigate through the darkest episode of his life, preparing him to fulfill Matzah, the man noted to be perpetually reoccurring, continuously deployed, long established and perennially unrelenting, springing up as a tree, coming forth prepared to shine at the right moment with logical expressions regarding the entire sequence of events. It's quite a mouthful, is the one who made it possible for many to be seen as pure and white, le bon. And then there is Hyssop, a clue so tantalizing that we will devote our undivided attention to it in a moment. I think you'll find it interesting. You will, in particular, Dr. Jeff. But for now, be aware that Hyssop is being deployed to show the way to receive the benefits of the relationship, is being extended to serve as the means to construct the structure of a home. Floor to ceiling, walls to beams. We are told that he will continually speak against the beast, muting these beasts, and he will address that which is required to take flight. Fly away on Shabuw'ah, maybe? He is positioned against the creeps who slither about while advocating on behalf of that which leads to exponential growth. Sounds like a job description to me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I read Eythan, perpetually reoccurring and continuously deployed, in the preamble to Dowd's song, my mind was immediately drawn back in time to Chanoch. You know what Chanoch means? Trained and prepared, dedicated and deployed. Same guy.
Enoch.
He was, as we have learned, the first individual that Yahowah inserted as needed along the timeline to keep his plans and people on track. Through him, God established one of the nephesh souls that he would use going forward. And his name, Chanoch, affirms that he was instructed and equipped and then deployed for that specific purpose. Now, based upon the uncommon use of the Hitpael stem, revealing that Enoch, was completely unaffected by societal pressures and constraints, we now know why God took him, why God would deploy him. We find an individual influenced by God, but not by men, making him particularly serviceable. He is shown on a continual journey with Yahowah, such that they are walking through life together. As I shared previously, in conjunction with God, their offspring included the longest lived individual, Methuselah, a man whose name means that he was a man sent out as a stem. Every time we turn over a leaf, we have another affirmation explaining how the Choder stem would become the Etz Dayath, the tree of knowledge, providing counsel to restore Yisrael. And in this way, they would father many sons and daughters for the covenant over the years. the realization that he would be known for having existed 365 years at a time when the Hebrew calendar was 354 days, suggests that in another life, he might be the first to correlate God's calendar with man's. Just saying. Therefore, following the clues, it appears that at whatever time, place, or title of Yahweh's choosing, he or someone, sometimes she, would be inserted, usually together, into the ordinary flow of time by Yahweh, then removed, returning to God, awaiting the next deployment. Doesn't have to travel in time, doesn't have to upend time, doesn't have to rip the fabric of time. Ordinary progression. You need to go back down. This is the mission. I'll pick you up again when we're done. Just finish this mission. We'll do another one. Always waiting for the next deployment. He is so here anyway is the supportive text that I have shared previously regarding Chanoch, but it's appropriate now. Chanoch, trained and prepared, dedicated and deployed, was unfazed by external human influences in his consistent walk through life. He, free of human cultural, societal, religious, or political control mechanisms, traveled with the Almighty. Afterwards, he delivered with him Methuselah, a man sent as a stem, the individual dispatched as a shoot. From man, Shalach, sent out as, and a Shelek, a shoot, a stem, a sprout, a choder. At 300 years, and then he fathered other sons and daughters. All of the days of Chanoch, trained and dedicated, deployed, was and will be 365. So Chanoch, trained and prepared, dedicated and deployed, unfazed by external societal influences, consistently walked, traveling through life with the Almighty, and then there was nothing of him, because God grasped hold of him at that moment and obtained him for a period of time. Barishith in the beginning, Genesis 5:22 through 24. Quite a connection, don't you think?
Wow, you've been busy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm obviously biased because I've been doing this for 25 years and I've gotten pretty accustomed to God's style of just when you thought you had it together and God had put everything on your plate that you could possibly handle, that he doubles down again and says, I knew you could do more. So I'm pretty accustomed to this. I've been doing it now for 25 years, and over the last year, it has been a deluge of these kinds of insights. But you're hearing it for the first time. What are your thoughts?
I'm absolutely amazed. I don't know what I've done. Sorry if I'm talking over someone, but
No.
I'm sitting there the whole time saying, how did I get involved with such a great group of guys, plus you and Leah? Wow, this is just wow.
You're a huge part of it. Yeah, you're a huge part of it. Yeah, it is a smile. I mean, it's all smiles. This is we are together, and it's going to be even more together because the role that becomes apparent through the 31st Mashal, the last word picture, and everything else we're reading, is that the role between the greater and lesser luminaries, both which God says are great, the tree of knowledge and the tree of lives, isn't that of king and subject. We're bound. We are side by side. And so if anything, well, Dowd's clearly king and he's in charge, but Leah and I are more like his earthly father and mother than we are in any other role, which means that the organization of what needs to be done during Taruw'ah and then on during Kipurym and through the 1,000 years of Sukah, it's on you. You're going to be the responsible ones. We're going to be there to do what we do, which, I'm going to continue to write and to share and to teach and to try to exemplify completing the job and living a loving life that is also cerebral, blending these things together and being there, completing the familial picture with Dowd as mother, father, and son together as a family. But that means that you guys are it. So that's what it's conveying. So it's you're not just lucky to be part of all of this. You are this.
You and Leah are basically gray matter, and Methuselah, man, you are the ultimate recyclable. I don't even know how to even put it. This is just
recyclable. Isn't that funny? Yeah. There was. I want to make sure that there's a proper appreciation for this, and I think I'm going to say it somewhere as we go forward. But to read about yourself in the story that Yahowah has provided, you would think would be a heady thing to do, and you'd say, "Wow, isn't that neat? How special is that?" But it's not. It's not the way it is. And there's two aspects of this. First of all, that every time you lose anonymity and that you're asked to do something more, you become vastly more vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And the job becomes more difficult as we look at what happened with Moshe and Dowd. They, both of them gave up partway through the mission, and it took everything they had just to finish the job. So that's part of it. But the other part of it is, by being used this often in all of these different ways, you're kind of reduced in a way to a tool. You're just you really are. You're an implement.
God says, the system.
Yeah, God says,
you're a long way from the dented implement that you used to talk about. Why me? Why you? And I'm just a dented implement. You're a long way from that now.
Yeah, that's not going to fly anymore, Yada. The dented tool.
Yeah.
Okay, let's put it this way. Dowd was a handful, wasn't he?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dowd really a handful. Yahowah said, I chosen, this is the kind of guy that I like, and I choose people for different reasons than man chooses people. So we ought to be fairly comfortable with the fact that God has a different style for choosing people than we would normally use, and that people that are a handful appeal to him. He likes, I guess, lovable rogues and the like. He has no problem with somebody that makes a mistake so long as they can learn from it, and when they stumble, they get back up. In fact, he kind of likes that. And he sort of likes abrasive, bold, aggressive men. And he likes people that talk a lot. So he has a type. I take from this is that Chanoch, Enoch, which is now 400 years ago, that range, that he had a combination of aptitudes and attitudes, and that Yahowah says, that's somebody I can work with. Maybe it's not much, but I can work with that guy. I think that guy will see it through. I think I can put him in. He'll do the mission, and we'll work through time, because somebody's got to keep my people and this plan on track. And I'm not going to go in there and make a big show of it every time, because that means that free will would be run amok. Yeah, so he can't do it as you will do this. I order you to love me. Come on, Dowd, you can't be wallowing in your alcoholism and depression. I order you. I demand that you love me and that you do what you're supposed to do. God can't do it that way.
No. He's painted himself into a corner. We've discussed it multiple times.
Yeah, he did. He painted himself into a corner.
And he's not going to interfere with free will.
Never.
And he's always going to keep his promises.
That is correct. And when he says, I'm going to do it this way, he means I'm going to do it this way. And so there you go. You've got people that are doing it at God's beck and call. He's inserting them. He's winding them up. He's preparing them. He's deploying them. And so this is routine for God. But that's what I see, is that God found some personalities. And if you read through this and the way that these people come and go, it is likely that we've been husband and wife a long time. It's been we have probably the longest successful marriage in the history of the world.
Well, you do act like a couple that have been married forever.
We do.
I do see a lot of that.
Yes, we do.
I gotta say, both for you and Leah, that it's. I think Yah's nudging you to both stop being self-deprecating, and that it's as if you are like the ATP, and what I mean by that is the adenosine triphosphate, the energy which powers life. Let's be real here. This is kind of beyond a description that makes any other sense to me in that form. I mean, without the intervention, the ultimate, most significant 1-2 punch ever delivered by you and Leah to Dowd, there is no life.
Yeah, it's the culmination of our life's work. I had always thought it was going to be writing these books and delivering this program. And then I thought it was going to be, well, the ultimate sacrifice of the Adam of Parah and the work on Taruw'ah. And, but that's not the case. This is the crowning achievement of our lives.
After all these years, Yada, you've never complained about writer's cramp.
Never. And obviously I've done a lot of it. Never had writer's block, never complained about writer's cramp. But self-deprivation, I think, is important here, because I would have preferred anonymity. I liked anonymity. God doesn't do anonymous. So, I signed on with the only real God, and he doesn't do anonymous. And you got to, if you're going to work with him, you got to go with his program. He's smarter than we are. And so I went with his program, and I had no idea that it was going to be this non-anonymous. But, fortunately, he has he must have 100 names. So you can get lost in all the names and titles until you take the time to figure out what they mean. And then you can't really hide anymore. So there just is no hiding.
Day one, you said you're going to go where the words lead no matter what. And that's what you've done.
This is where the words are leading. The definition of these words leads no question as to this is that role. And you have to be, well, you can be self-deprivating all day long. You do have to be honest. Yeah, right, JB? You got to be honest. And if the words say this, you can't run from them.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. I'm being a bit facetious, but
yeah,
you're being observant, responsive, and reliable. Yep. These are the three principles that Yah just over and over for Olam Va'ed. I mean, it's just been that way.
And I don't think there'd be any difference in this life and the earlier lives. Your nefesh is the conveyor of your personality, and I think for the better, all of us are going to have very similar personalities going forward. I just think that's the way it's going to be. I think that God doesn't want us to have similar personalities. I think he wants us to have different personalities. I think he wants these personalities to reflect kind of the full specter of humanity, so that you have really aggressive and grating sometimes, and up to very soft and supportive. Kirk, for all the time that we were co-hosts on the Yada Radio,
yes,
we were differentiated in style. I was always the blunt and aggressive one, and some people like that, but most don't. You were always the approachable one, the supportive one, the always kind, always nice, always. You were the good guy of
good
that.
Cop, bad cop.
Of all of those, of all of those times, and so the different personalities work together. If you had the same personality, eternity would be really boring. So this is exactly what Yahowah is trying to accomplish here. We all have very different personalities, and we all make a contribution because of the fact that we're different.
Yeah, I like
different
them all.
personalities allow for different perspectives.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We can, even the same person can look at the same material and come up with different perspectives. But absolutely, I mean, that's why I'm asking. I've read through this. I've done the translation. I've thought it all through, and these are my conclusions. But what are yours, Bill? When you hear this, I mean, this is pretty amazing. No one's ever considered this before. What's your thought?
You know what I find fascinating, and this is it really started when we discovered that Dowd was the Pesach Ayil. It seems like since that time that we have gone through this series of almost like neck snapping paradigm shifts. Yahowah almost demands that you're spiritually nimble. You have to there's a lot to get through. We got to get to the next thing. And my personality, I like to just sit with it and but so trying to keep up, we're just always on that sort of that cutting edge of revelation, being in the covenant. And I just noticed I have to do that. I have to be a little bit more nimble with this because it's constant. Every week there's new information that you have to sort of digest and metabolize. And I was thinking about that, and Yahowah said, well, hey, welcome to eternity, because what you're doing is you're getting to know Yahowah. That's what we're doing, and he's going to constantly reveal. So this pace is probably the pace at Sukah, or and even beyond.
I think that is absolutely, unequivocally brilliant.
It is.
And I didn't actually think of it that way, but I'm convinced that you're right, that we are, in a way, being taught, orchestrated, evaluated, encouraged to be on that edge, to never be complacent, to the moment that you learn something new, to be excited about how you're going to not replace that thing that's new, but add to it.
Yes.
Now that you have this piece and you understand this piece, how are you going to use that piece with all the other pieces of this puzzle you put together to get to the next piece?
Yep.
It's like moving through the equation where it is a perpetual equation. And God's saying, I don't want you to be comfortable with this. That's what I was saying, that the working with Yahowah, my first reaction has been the moment you get comfortable with, okay, it's fun writing for Yahowah as Yada, being anonymous.
Yeah.
But who is this Choder fellow?
Right.
And then who is this Nakri fellow? And then it goes on and on and on. And after a while, you say, oh, come on, God, this is just too much. Mm. And I think that is what we're being told here is eternity is a big place. The universe is a big place. Eternity is a long period of time. And God is not complacent. And what he's looking for is for us to keep up. That's the whole thing about complete the mission. He wants us to keep up. And so what he's doing is he just like Eythan Ha'Ezraky progressively taught Solomon how to be wise, and he taught Dowd who he is and what he's going to do with his life, because he systematically figured it out. What Yahowah was saying, that is my style. I want you to mirror my style so that we are harmonious together forever throughout this universe, because there's a lot. The moment you figure out one thing, man, we're going to go on to the next.
Yeah.
What Will has done, and it was brilliant what he just said, is that is constant augmentation and evolution. And you can look back to 2 Sam 6 as a kind of a basic fundament for that. And even now, just looking back at what you just revealed in 1 Melachim 4, he did even say about you, about Eythan Ha'Ezraky, that you will shine at your time.
Yes. Yeah.
And it seems like now is the time. It's happening. And it's like, if you look at hyperbolic, it's at a pace that's beyond exponential. So,
but I think it's our time.
Yeah,
I think this is a covenant. It is our time, and I actually think, well, I like the hyperbolic analysis, but I think Yahowah's got a better one. It's like waves relentlessly against the sea, because there was another time 3,000 years ago that was ever bit this important, maybe more important. And there'll be a next one when we come back. And then there'll be a next one as we exemplify what God's looking for through the millennial Shabbat, so that more people have a chance to go off and explore the universe. So I think it is one wave after another, never ending, always relentless, eroding the harshness and caressing the sands and the toes of those who are receptive.
Mm.
It is like the sound of the sea.
Eternal.
It's been fun.
It is fun. It's fun and it's exciting, and you don't every day it's
TV.
yeah, another marvelous discovery. And I hinted at something that I was able to prove over the last 2 days, that Rahab is the actual name. We've always been searching, is he the Torahless one? Is he the great betrayer? He certainly isn't the Antichrist. We use that term because it's known by people and they'll recognize it. But the realization that we have come to through the prophets that Donald Trump is demon possessed, that he is this corporeal manifestation of Satan. I didn't know he had a name. He does. And that name is presented 4 different times. And each of those 4 times, it's either in concert with Babylon, or it's in concert with the demonic dragon and the venomous serpent, or it's in concert with that fiery serpent. Remember that guy? Or it's in concert with what's called a deadly and venomous snake. It's always a man that is enveloped, intertwined with the very spirit of Satan. His name is Rahab. It means he's a confabulator, that he's conceited, that he's chaotic, that he's vicious.
Sounds familiar.
Sounds familiar. And so who knew that was there? I mean, were you guys aware that Yahowah speaks of him twice in 2 different chapters, and that there is a entire Mizmowr devoted to him, and that he is featured early on in the 89th Psalm? Rahab.
Congratulations, Donald Trump. He joins the ranks of Muhammad and Shaul.
Yeah, I think he's worst. I think that by the time that Rahab is done, he will be more deadly, more destructive, more damning, more vicious, more deceitful than Muhammad, Paul, Akiba, Hitler, Stalin, Lenin, Mao, Genghis Khan, Tamerlane, Hadrian, Vespasian, Nero, any of them, all of them. He's going to be the worst person who ever lived.
He's the culmination of them all.
Jacob's troubles, for crying out loud.
And
What, Will?
I said he's the MC for Jacob's troubles, for crying out loud.
He is. Yeah, he is.
And,
Yeah, so
the Adam
Rahab
of
is
going to take him down. And
oh, by the way,
you know
who? Yeah, and what we find in the 89th Mizmowr, and again in Yahowah, he's very emphatic. He says he's taken down by the empowered Zeroah of Yahowah.
There you go.
It's 3.
The anti-Rahab.
Hard. Yeah. So it is. I just think the whole thing is the plan, I think, is actually ingenious. So if we're getting back just to the core of the story, the plan is absolutely ingenious. God came up with a way to keep his people and his plan on track. He had a 6,000-year plan that year, 3,000. He was going to. You begin with year 2000. 1968 BCE. He is going to affirm the narrative of the covenant on Mount Moriah with Abraham and Yishak, and then 1,000 years later, he's going to affirm through his beloved son that he would serve as the Passover lamb. And he did so 1,000 years after that in year 4,000, 33 CE. And then, we are going to fulfill Shabuw'ah here shortly. And then and the final fall Mikra are going to be fulfilled in year 6,000, 2033. God's keeping his plan on track. All the players are where they need to be. They're doing what they need to do. And this is the way that God was able to do that without imposing upon free will or ripping the universe apart by sending someone back in time.
He had an ace in the hole ready for whenever things started to get off track.
He did. He had somebody trained, that he had the right personality for what he was trying to do, the right aptitudes and attitudes, and there you go. You're inserted, you do your job, you come back out. But I think your personality stays identical. It's the same, we talk about this often. Souls are actually a form of energy that can be enveloped in light and energy when we're in the seventh dimension. When we're down here on Earth, we're put into physical bodies, and those physical bodies are essentially meaningless. They're easily replicable. They're easily replaceable. And so God can put a soul into a body at any time and then take that soul out of that body and bring them to Shamayim and then deploy them again. That is the beauty of a soul. Yahweh can even deploy his own soul that way. So the body is meaningless. That's why the whole Christian idea of God being a man is just so ludicrous. That's why bodily resurrection is so stupid. The body is meaningless. It's the soul that matters, and it's the soul of Enoch, of Chanoch, that God had an affinity for and said, this is somebody I can work with. And he evidently married well. And God says, both of them I can work with. This is a good team. I'll just keep on deploying them. And I think he has confidence in this time that we're not going to fail because, well, he's been through this with us before. We didn't fail the last time. And he keeps on referring to me as young man. Now I see why. I see the humor in it. I'm 5,600 years old. I don't look too bad for 5,600. I'm starting to gray a little bit, even got the streaks of salt and pepper in the hair now, but it's not bad for 5,600 years, I don't think.
That's still young compared to Yahowah, so.
Yeah,
it is, but it's he created this universe 14 billion years ago, and who knows how long he'd been around and doing this before that. We don't know his long history, but yeah, it's still darn young. And of course, but from Yahweh's point of view, time is not the same thing. Yeah, it is for us.
During one of your podcasts this past week, Craig, you mentioned Dowd saying something that you figured out, or it was your opinion, but you opine that how do you reconcile favoring the quote unquote death of a son?
Yeah. It's, when he wrote a whole song that it was the devotion was is celebrating the death of a son, and it becomes all of this great celebration, and you realize that Dowd had lost 4 sons, and he didn't celebrate any of them, and he was really emotionally distraught. So they're not his son, and that means that he's either celebrating his fulfillment of Passover as the Son of God, or he's realizing that his buddy here is also a son of God, and that he's giving his life on Taruw'ah so that Dowd can return home on Kipurym, and he's going to have a grand celebration and a welcoming family to receive him. And so that he's either talking about one of those two, and it's likely the last of them.
I think he's celebrating Adam Parah taking down Rahab. He knows what's going to happen. He knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, the reason he knows what's going to happen is I told him, because you read it in the, I was trying to figure out why in the world would he go, and he's clearly going from, he went talking about Yahweh, and then he has Yahweh speak about Dowd, and then he speaks about Yahweh again, Eythan does, and then Eythan jumps right into himself as the Zeroah, who is this man that comes from the west and emerges from the sea to agitate and then take down this great plague that is Rahab. And you say, why would he do that? Oh, of course I know why he did that. He's going to begin this by saying, okay, all the credibility here is Yahweh. We know who Yahweh is. This is what he's doing. This is what he has to say about you. And oh, by the way, so that the guy that's delivering this isn't just a messenger boy. He is more than the delivery boy here. He's a guy with skin in the game, shedding blood along with you. He's a fighter along with you, and he's the other guy that's fulfilling these Moedim. So you're not the only one who's going to endure the death of his body in an aggressive way against the beast of Rome in his case, and me against the beast of Satan directly on Taruw'ah. We have a common bond here, which is what he's trying to say. And that common bond is why you need to listen to everything else that I'm going to tell you, is that we are forever tied together in this way. And I think it was just a brilliant way for God to have these two men bond. What's your thoughts there, Kevin?
That would have been an interesting introduction. Wouldn't you like to have seen? Well, you do, but
yeah,
I would have liked to have seen that. How does Yah introduce Eythan Ha'Ezraky, the lesser luminary to the greater luminary, and say, hey, by the way, you don't know it yet, but this is where things are going.
I think I know why it didn't even have to be an introduction. Dowd's, when he really fell off the wagon with Yahowah for the first time, was when Yahowah killed the man who interfered with the bull bringing the Ark of the Covenant into Jerusalem to put under the tent of the restoring witness. And that was the message that God was trying to convey, that it will be a bull that will do that. And Dowd said, I disagree with your killing him. I think that was wrong, what you did. And now I'm giving up. I'm going to have nothing to do with relocating this Ark of the Covenant. It's your responsibility. You figure it out. I'm out of here. Defeatist. Gave up.
Mm-hmm.
And God said, okay, yeah, I've got a guy. His name tells you a lot about him. Obed is written exactly like the word for Dowd is constantly called the Ebed, co-worker.
Mm-hmm.
It's a worker. So it's one who works and one who serves. And Edom is a derivation of Adam. And so it means one who serves mankind. And so the guy was one who serves mankind. And that guy then took the responsibility of getting the Ark of the Covenant under the tent of the restoring witness, right? And Dowd got to know him. And when he took over and God says, pay attention. That's what's happening here. You can rely on him. I know him. He's going to get this job done. Dowd went out and danced. He partied. He knew what this was leading to, which is why he put on the ephod of the high priest, because he knew that when this happens for real the next time, he's going to be anointing that mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant as the high priest. And he knew that he'd be relying on that same guy to get it there. And he knew that that was going to lead to a re-entry into Eden, which is why he was bare-ass naked from the ephod on down. And he knew that he was kabod at that point. He was really significant. So that was the beginning of it all. So I'm convinced that that the person by whatever name, but it's really a job description, the man serving mankind, Obed-Edom, who is reintroduced by Yahshua as the man from Edom who saves many, is Eythan Ha'Ezraky.
Yeah, they would have a previous interaction, previous history. Because I just think to the nuts and the bolts of the whole thing is like, how do you show up in his house? How do you even get in the gate if he doesn't know who you are?
He knew who he was.
Traipsing through time, because through Obed-Edom, absolutely.
Yeah,
the only other thing
yes, go ahead. I was going to say just one thought on that is that names with Yahowah tell stories.
Yeah.
And so if you want to know the story, understand the names, and then you know who the players are. And so Obed-Edom is Eythan Ha'Ezraky. He was doing a service for the man when he relocated the Ark of the Covenant, and then he is now the one who is perpetually deployed, sprouting forth as the tree to represent the entire story as Eythan Ha'Ezraky. Same guy, just slightly different job description.
Names
not to be lost on that
adjectives, not nouns.
Yes.
Excuse me, Kevin.
Go ahead, Jeff.
No,
go ahead,
Edom,
Jeff.
by talking about Edom, it's referencing Esau. Again, yes. We're going back to the sea. We're going back to the Goy, who's going to show the the Israelites and Yehudim.
Well,
coming
that
round
is,
circle.
yeah. Well, it is true that Edom is associated with Esau. Edom is written one letter different from Adam. So it's clearly a man. And he's a man in service to men, or a man in service to the man, is what that name means. The fact that he is, that it's Edom as opposed to just Adam, means that his role in service to the man is to bring the family together. Esau was the one who was robbed of his birthright.
Yep.
And you're going to restore the relationship between Yehudim and Yisrael. You begin there. That's when it was split. And so by him being the man from Edom, he is the man who was ostracized, who was cheated out of his birthright, that is reuniting Yisrael. It's the story of Yirmiyah 31, of where Yehudim and Yisrael are reunited as the covenant is reaffirmed. This is how it happens. That's why it's the man from Edom. He is restored. So you're completely correct. He is restoring the family, but his name speaks of a servant to either mankind or a servant to the man. And the man would be Dowd. Any other thoughts there, Kevin?
The only other thing I was thinking about was with to William's point, you can't call yourself conservative anymore. You're more progressive than with the whip neck, stuff. Cutting edge progressive. You know what I mean?
Cutting edge progressive, baby. Yeah, we are.
Right.
We're cutting edge. So I'm growing. I'm expanding in personality attributes. Opening up here to being a progressive.
Yes. Yahowah is against tradition. He's against the status quo, and so we have to be as well. Especially those traditions do not follow the covenant and the 7 Moed Mikre. He's got
always
his traditions,
growing,
but all
always learning, always becoming more than we were yesterday, and helping others do the same. Never really, being comfortable being on the edge. One of the things that I learned when I was a young man, I was an introvert, and yet from my earliest recollections as a child, and it stayed with me during my entire childhood, it's never left me, that I'm not here to do something ordinary. Until I came to know Yahowah 26 years ago, I didn't know what that thing was. But not only did I know it, but almost everyone that I encountered along the way who I got to know said, don't know what your role is, but we're going to hear a lot from you going forward. There's something special. I was always an old soul. I didn't relate to other children my age. I was always an old soul, and I always knew that there was something extraordinary that was going to happen. And it is, God's way to make this happen this way. And he knows that he has never been popular. He knows this is an exceedingly difficult job. He knows that the more attention that is drawn to you, the harder the job becomes. And if anything, all of this does say, I trust you. We've been through it before. I trust you. And we'll get it done again. I don't think God had any concern that we wouldn't get this done now, because we got it done before. This wasn't the hardest of those occasions. This isn't the hardest. The hardest was 3,000 years ago. And I don't think it was any cup of tea 3,500 years ago when
right.
There was no cup of tea either. That was tough. That was tough duty.
Getting one Yehud to a hill at the right time is one thing. Getting 1 million Yehud to a hill at the right time is a completely different story. Yeah,
completely different story.
This is tough text.
Yeah, I don't think that story happens without Moshe having support, and that's why when we hear the story of in the 11th chapter of Numbers of Eldod, God's beloved, and my Dowd, the one who is supported of Dowd, and they're filled with the Spirit, and they're prophets. And it's Yeshua ben Nun, who hears them and or reports of them, and he goes to Moshe and says, here are these two guys, this is their name, and here's what they're doing. Should we be concerned? And Moshe didn't say, who? I've never heard of those guys, did he?
Yeah.
He knew them.
He was ecstatic.
And what was his response? He says, oh my God, no, this is really good. This is exactly what we want. Encourage it. This is what we want, because they were the guys that behind the scenes were making all of this happen. They were the ones that rounded up the Israelites. How do you think the Israelites got the lambs? They were slaves. How do you think they got the hyssops? They were slaves. They had straw. They didn't have hyssop. How do you think all that happened? How do you think they actually got rounded up and led across that land bridge? They found the right place at Nuiba Beach. And do you think they just stumbled on it? Or do you think somebody knew it was there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when God decided that all those who participated in the golden calf would be swallowed by the earth, who do you think wasn't Moshe? Moshe didn't stand up. Moshe fell on his face every time there was a problem. So who was it that rounded them up and made sure that was going to happen? Yeah, I think we'll find that it was throughout time that God said, all right, we need a little support here. Go get them. This is what needs to be done. And I'm going to equip you, give you what you need to get this job done. And I think that at least once or twice along that timeline, you get a long period of time. And you get to demonstrate that right from the beginning, that without previous training, without any prior knowledge of what you have done, that you can prove that you can be trusted, that you can do the three things God wants, be observant, be responsive, and be reliable, and that you can get it done. And God can say, see, I told you, I knew it. And by having a life that's like that, you gain total confidence. You're not saying, I'm just a tool. I got used all this time. Let me tell you the story about what happened. And no, you earned God's trust. You get to have the confidence that comes along with that. You get to sense the sense of satisfaction. You get to snuggle up to Yah and said, we did good, didn't we? And and you get to say, we did good, didn't we? That turned out really nicely. Nice plan, coach. I think that's tremendously satisfying. And now in this occurrence, it's we. This doesn't work without a we. JB, you were all over Bob Rashid's Genesis. Did you pick up anything like Enoch? No, it takes a lot. You really have to care deeply about the meaning of the name, and this doesn't work without you understanding the stems and the uniqueness of the Hitpael stem in particular. Why that positioned him properly for this job.
And you really need the base of knowledge that you've built up over the last 20 some years to get it. I mean, if you translated it 20 years ago, you wouldn't have got any of this because you didn't have that base of knowledge that you've developed.
That is correct.
Now recontextualizes everything that you've ever done.
That is correct. Yeah, it's the foundation of knowledge. And I think that's, it's particularly true of translating and contemplating and then interpreting the Word of God so that you can deduce and share insights. I think it's the essence of it. It's why God doesn't do a data dump. You have this opportunity to grow and learn, and then have the joy of sharing what you have learned and growing from it. That is the great joy in life, and that's where we're going to be, as you said, for all time. That is we'll always be invigorated by that next opportunity, capitalizing on what we learned and adding to it. But it is absolutely true that if I translate anything now, it is so profoundly beyond what I could have done 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or 20 years ago. Hugely different. It's like I would love now to have the year's time to go through all of those mashal, knowing what we know. Wouldn't that just be grand? I'd like to finish the entire book of Yasha'ah. I would love to do all of the minor prophets. there's just so much that needs to be done. I'd love to go through just the whole story of the covenant. I'm sure there's insights galore. And I think that part of the reason for having this 1,000 years is that while we're during that 1,000 years, there is no reason why we can't have the existing Torah written inside of us and come to understand all of those metaphors and insights and share them and make that part of the teaching. We're continuing to write, and we're adding books to the shelf, and we're adding vlogs that can be disseminated and modeling behavior. Now, I did have a conversation at dinner tonight with Rich and with Leah that I think we're going to enter that period with enough books on the shelf and enough vlogs to have earned like a year off. It'll take everybody a year to process them before we're needed again. And I've been negotiating for a vacation. I don't know if I'm going to get it, but I've been negotiating for. I mean, you guys need to know that I've been negotiating for a vacation. I would really like one.
Well, Dowd's getting one.
Yeah, Dowd gets one because he is the groom of Numbers 5, and as the groom of Numbers 5, if you read through, particularly when Yahowah is issuing the final divorce decree with Miriam, the one who said, "But we too speak for God," he spoke about how a newly married man has a year off, and so Dowd's going to get one. And I think if he gets one, we should get one. And so I'm kind of counting on having a little break. Now we're going to be all reinvigorated. It's going to be a lot of fun, and everything's going to be new, and there's so much to do. And maybe we can sneak out for a year over a second. Maybe that'll work too. So we'll find out. But between now and then, I think that we have this grand opportunity over 1,000 years to celebrate being material, but knowing what we know. I just think that's going to be grand. And then we have all eternity to celebrate not being material and going beyond those dimensions. But I'm actually looking forward to 1,000 years of being material and this world being so beautiful and so many things to explore and to do. And you're not, Kevin, you want to go straight
Just
to the...
Think of all the things you can get done when you're not spending time trying to maintain and feed and sleep this biological body. Think of all the things you'll be able to get done because you spend 8 hours of your day sleeping, a complete waste of time. Okay. And you spend 3 times, a day you're eating, a complete waste of all of this just to keep the brain going and keep the mechanical body up and moving so it can go other places and do things. Think of how much stuff you can get done with all that out of the way.
Okay. Now,
I don't know. As a person who loves food, I don't view eating as a waste of time.
I'm with you, JB. Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm with you, JB. I think that, first of all, I find sleep highly rejuvenating. Most of the time that I have a really good dialogue with Yahowah, I'm just by myself kind of saying, all right, this is a nice quiet time. What do I need to know that I don't know? What am I doing wrong? What I need to, what do we need to do to get this, something accomplished? And it is a really lovely, peaceful time to do that. I just love that whole process of restoring the mind and the body. So I actually enjoy sleep. I need more of it now than I used to. I'm only working now half days. I only work 12 to 14 hours a day now, so that's only a half day. And I do need more sleep than I used to, but I don't mind that. I don't need any time for grooming. It should be obvious, water to the face, wet hands through the hair. And that's pretty much, so we're pretty similar on the grooming aspect of it. Eating, I think, is a really an interesting process. You're not only nourishing yourself, but it's time to spend. I think it's a lovely time to spend conversationally. Leah, Rich, and I will when we have our meals together, we have interesting conversations. I just think it's a wonderful social experience. I think we will actually be eating. Well, Pesach would be an example of that going forward. And then there's the idea of touch and a loving relationship. I'm all over that. But I now know that it's essential for brain growth and intellectual stimulation, which is really the only reason that I'm sure we do it. But
Sure.
sure. But But love is physical love is just a marvelous attribute to life and accompaniment of life. Music that we heard today. It takes a physical body to make those sounds, and the ears that hear it. I think the music is marvelous. I love the feel of the warmth of a sun on my cheeks. I just think that the feel of sun is a marvelous thing. I love the hearing the wind blow through the either pines or through palm fronds. I love the sound of the sea. I love to walk in the sand and the water from the sea to lap on your feet. There's just so many lovely things. I love to scuba dive and have that weightless feeling, and you watch that all these new forms of life all around you.
Without a body, you'll be weightless.
That's true. Listen, I'm not poo-pooing the advantages of being seven-dimensional, and to being able to go through and see the entire universe and trillions of galaxies and billions of stars in each of them, and understanding the DNA code for life and going off and exploring with Yahowah. I just think it's going to be beyond imagination wonderful. But I don't have a problem the delaying that 1,000 years and hanging here and because it's going to be, we're going to have a perfect body essentially. I know perfect is kind of silly, but you're going to have a body that your eyes aren't going to get tired. You're not going to need glasses to see. You're not going to have to work out necessarily to stay in shape. And so I just think that's going to be a marvelous thing going forward. And we're going to live through that process for 1,000 years here on Earth. So you never have a crunch of time. You never feel pressured. I got to get that done. And you got 1,000 years, and then you've got all eternity. I like it all. I think it's all going to be great and grand.
Great plan.
Yeah, I think
there will be enough tasky stuff happening that we have to have that sense of urgency. Otherwise, nothing gets done. We got 1,000 years. We can finish that song tomorrow. We can.
As Will said, he's going to keep us on edge the whole time, and we're going to be already comfortable with being on edge.
Let's go. Let's go. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Let's go. Okay, you got that. Let's go. Don't get flabby. Don't become idle. When Dowd was sleeping in the middle of the day and got up at dusk, and that's when he went to voyeur mode, and that's not what he's looking for. We're going to get going. Come on. The sun is going to be up in an hour. Why are you still in bed? Let's go.
Gentlemen, we're being given the gift of having both.
Yes, I agree.
Absolutely.
We do both.
The gift of both. And let me just say the 3 S's, sleep, sex, sustenance with food are essential, and they optimize us in this manifestation. And as Kevin is saying, being light, bright, eternal is wonderful as well. But the benefits of the 3 here, and then being able to experience light, which is our bodies absorbing all forms of energy, be it UV light, visible light, infrared light, is life-giving, life-sustaining, and optimization of what we have in this realm. So
how about this to play off of between what you're saying and what Kevin is saying, is that following the Shabuw'ah harvest, we're going to have 3 years of being 7-dimensional. And that time, we're going to start with, God, it's great to be here. What a thrill that was. I hope you're pleased with what we accomplished together. What did we get wrong? What did we miss? What do you want us to do going forward? Let's get ourselves, make sure we're all prepared to go forward. And now that we've done that, let's go and have some fun. Let's go. Plenty of time to have fun. And we're going to be without bodies, able to be in Yahowah's presence and one another's presence, where we don't have a sense of urgency that we have to get back down to earth right now. We're being prepared for that, but we can go and experience all that Yah has to offer. So when we do return, we can share not only what we've known from the Torah and the prophets, but what we experience firsthand. So I do think that brings into it. But then when we get back down and we're working with mortals, if we're going to set an example and be an exemplars for them too, you can't always be just a spiritual being. You've got to spend some time. Yeah, you got to spend some time doing exactly what we're doing. Studying, being observant, learning, contemplating, thinking, sharing, in writing and in these formats. And, you know, I think that we're going to have lots of wonderful meals around the world together. And it's going to be a grand fun, but I think we're going to go in and out of all of this. I do think that Yahowah has because of the way time works and the way time changes when you're no longer a physical body, that we will be able to take a year off and maybe only miss a second or two on the ordinary flow of time. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. But I do know right now, while I think it is incentive, and we need incentive, to think about what God's offering and where we're going to go and how much fun that's going to be, Kevin, without any limitation of a body, and Dr. Jeff with the 3 S's, with sleep, with sex, and with sustenance, and with sex. And I know I already mentioned sex, but I like sex.
Bears repeating.
Yeah, it bears repeating. Was that Blazing Saddles? A little different, but nonetheless, I'll rip off the line. But the why not? That's why would God want to deprive us of the things that are so enjoyable? And so, you know, if you look at how he interacted with Abraham and with Sarah, I mean, it wasn't sex, but yeah, we actually talked sex, right? They had a kid. They didn't have a kid by standing 10 feet apart, you know? So it was all the same things. Yeah.
Well,
sustenance
I'll leave you with this. I'll leave you with this, Yasha, is that Eythan Ha'Ezraky basically was all about BDNF, brain derived neurotrophic factor. Remember, we spoke about that last week, about cerebral enhancement, augmentation, and optimization. And that is obtained through having a healthy relationship, an excellent love life. So it's part and parcel from, again, I'll say it again, Olam Wa'ed. It's antiquity and now.
Yes.
That hasn't changed.
That hasn't changed. No, it's the same pattern. And I think that have been set up for success, and that the next 1,000 years are going to be just a constant learning experience. We're going to be on that edge of discovery every moment, and the discoveries are going to become more frequent and more profound, more affirming, more confirming, more inspiring. And I think that the fact that God's used this plan for 6,000 years, I think that it does a marvelous job of confirming and affirming his approach and his style. Obviously, he has to be approachable. Obviously, he has to be have thoughts that are similar to ours, and that obviously he has to have confidence in us. One of the things that was a translation that I made, and I've forgotten where it was, but I'll find it back again. But and it might have been in the 89th Mizmowr even. In fact, it is. It's in the 89th Mizmowr. One of the most reassuring thoughts I've ever read from God. And it says that God confides in the set apart. And those who are set apart to him, he confides in them. Now, that takes it way beyond anything that we have pondered thus far, because we view ourselves as him teacher, us student, right? Him God, us people. Him boss, us workers. Him father, us sons. He infinite, 7-dimensional, us 3-dimensional at this point. But that's not what he says when we are in Shamaim. And in this is set up in Shamaim. He says in Shamaim, he confides in the set apart. That'll be his covenant family. And he can't confide in us unless he trusts us and unless he values our contribution to that narrative. You don't confide in someone unless you want to hear back from them. Right? You're looking for a response. Otherwise, you don't confide. You're looking for, what do you think about this? This is what I think we ought to do. What do you think? Where God's actually saying, I value your conclusions here and your thoughts and your judgment. This is what I think. What do you think?
Yeah, you want a platypus with bright feathers. So
I do. I want one. I want my platypus to fly, but that's probably not the first thing he's going to confide in. But nonetheless, I'm sure we'll have that discussion as to why platypuses don't fly.
Right.
That's like next level. I'm sorry, that I was just going to say that's next level relationship that Yahowah would, confide in you. Think about how much how high you have to be elevated to get to that point, because now you're relating on a whole. I mean, we're really very infantile children right now, but as time goes on, he may confide in you.
Yeah, I think from God's point of view, we are now standing grain, while we are 3-dimensional and he is 7-dimensional, and therefore there's a huge chasm between us. Yeah. But his whole plan is he's going to elevate our nephesh souls by infinity each time we go up in a dimension, through time, through space, and we go up into dimensions, into 7 dimensions. That will be an infinite increase in our capability, our empowerment, our capacity to process information and to make decisions, and our opportunity. We're going to have a 4-fold times infinity increase in all of this. So yes, he's going to feel comfortable confiding in us because we're going to be much more like him. That's his whole plan. And he needs to test us first to see who is willing to do the 3 things, who's willing to be observant, to be responsive, and to be reliable, because he doesn't want to take us to that. Can you imagine we're in heaven and God's confiding in us, and one person says, I don't like your plan at all. I think that's really stupid. Why'd you bring me here? I don't want to be here anymore. I mean, wouldn't that be a downer?
Wow.
Yeah. So, God's got to have a filtering mechanism, and those are his 3 filtering tests. But you're right. Once we get to that level, it is the next level. It is it's the thing that makes a relationship between a husband and wife so spectacular. Or when you have a child and you can reach the point in your relationship with that child that you can confide in them.
Yeah.
Yes.
That
You're
is
no longer
really
changing diapers. You're teaching how to hit a curve. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. It's because Jake, my son Jake, is now 15 years old, and he's just getting to that age where he's transitioning to somebody that I can confide in and have a mature conversation with. And I understand that his perspective is refined enough through experience that we can have that kind of, but it's neat because that's what's happening right now. That's unfolding in our relationship. So it's probably those teen years.
Next level stuff. Yeah. And all the stages up to that were enjoyable, weren't they?
Oh yeah. They were wonderful.
Yeah. And this is as next level stuff. It's probably the best step. And I think that's exactly what God is offering. And so when he says that he confides in the set apart, that tells you that we're going to reach a point where we can contribute to the story. And I actually think, and this is a really crazy idea, but I think that when we're constantly asking, God, okay, I need some guidance here. I'm a little stuck on how do we deal with this particular issue, that God would actually prefer us to make a contribution and say, God, I think we should do it this way. What do you think? And that's next level. That is saying that I'm comfortable with you as a teenage boy with dad. I've reached that. We've done enough things together and have enough trust, or it's like a marriage that has clicked on all facets. And you've developed a real comfort level with one another. You know that you're never going to part, that you genuinely are going to love each other and support each other through the process. And you're confiding each other in ways that, would make you vulnerable otherwise. And you reach that point. I think that's what God is looking for. I think he's actually, if he's not interested in that, I think that eternity would get to be less interesting for him, less fulfilling for him. I mean, I don't think he wants the responsibility of 100% of the time. He has to teach, he has to lead, he has to guide, that he always has to be in control. I think he would much prefer to have an interactive relationship where we confide in one another. I think that would be far more interesting for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just as I think that God would be bored stiff if there was such thing as a perfect person. I think God would be absolutely bored. And it's this process of growing and learning and becoming more than we have been. Well, I think we've reached a point where we can say good night. It's been really a lovely conversation. I think we have pushed the threshold again beyond anything that we had previously considered. I'd sort of like to play that song again, Kevin, if you can, as our close. Can you do that for us? And we'll just let that song play. And good night. It's been a great discussion with everybody. And Kirk, I'm particularly happy that you're one more, man. One more, man. Hang on to those 4 hairs, baby. Keep that smile.
I got Elmer's glue.
Yeah, man. Come Tuesday, when there are no more, we might have an adult beverage and do a toast. That sounds like I am ready, and you gain your strength back, and that should be a marvelous process. So.
Thank you for the kind word. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And I think that no matter what report they give you, I'd say, I'm good. Thanks very much. I appreciate all the help. I'm glad we gave it the big whack, but I'm good. Thank you. Thank you. But we'll go on from here.
Okay.
All right. And Dr. Jeff, you can contradict me. You're 1 million times smarter on this than I am. But anyway, it's just my
advice is
buddy to buddy chat.
Kirk, keep away from doctors, brother.
Well, I tell you,
you're eternal.
Textbook.
You're eternal.
Just to keep up with you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Will, for joining us. It's great to have you as part of this program. I loved your insight on always being on edge. It's something that I hadn't considered, and I'm actually now comfortable with it, because that is really how our relationship with Yahowah has been over this last year and a half, hasn't it?
Yeah. It's exciting.
Yeah. I think it's great. JB, always wonderful. Dr. Jeff, you are the best. Kirk, next time Pebble Beach, man, maybe Cypress Point. And
even better.
Kevin, can't wait to do another blog on the blog with you. The last one was by far our best. We're much more assertive. It's tough when you have somebody that talks as much as I am, and you did a great job. I was really pleased with the last show that we did. I'd like to do another one. I think if they start the war with Iran, I did a 20-minute narrative on the impending war with Iran. I want to talk about all the things that people aren't discussing, and why it is such a concern, and why at this point, at just 3 months from the time of Israel's trouble, that Israel shouldn't be stirring up trouble. You're going to have enough already, and this is not going to help you, particularly under the present circumstances with us having China and Russia in opposition, and your only ally is the Rahab. This is not good. All right, Cara says, I want to talk on that microphone. Oh, thank you. Oh, we're gonna do kisses. Oh, Cara's favorite is the wet willy. Are you guys familiar with the wet willy?
Yeah.
That is the tongue in the ear. Oh man, this one every morning you've got to do the. That's Cara's favorite thing.
Just grooming you. She's showing you how much.
Oh
she
yeah, that's her way of saying I love you and getting your attention. Okay, there, sweetness. So you want to get down? Okay, we're gonna go play the song again. That's hard on microphones, but We don't have big enough base for that microphone, but it's the only way to keep, if you get the big basses, then they sit up really high, and it's you look pretty stupid if you're having to strain to look over the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like those long arms that they have. I just think they're kind of ugly. So this is just diminutive, and it sets it down in a kind of a low way, but it becomes very tippy is the negative with it. And they don't like hitting glass tables.
No.
That had to be hard on your ears as you were trying to.
I survived that. As long as we don't hear the crash of glass. So.
Well,
I thought he would be more. I thought he'd be more worried about the mic than the table.
No,
microphone.
I actually had this piece of glass custom made for me right here on this island. It's 1 inch thick tempered glass, and so it's really an excellent piece. And I had to do it because the room I put it in, I wanted the curve on the outside and the clipped edges on it and the straight back, and so it's actually a design that I had that I drew up and had made here. So I think it's pretty much impervious to harm. I really like glass tabletops. I just think they're kind of neat. This is a really very, very contemporary desk. Everything that we designed in this house is super contemporary. But you look at the old tree in the sea.
Yes.
I can maybe duck down there.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's it's now been framed. We're going to find a home
Frame
for
is
it. I
great.
think it's going to go in the master eventually, but I'm enjoying having it here. And the very fact that I'm a really, really, really old tree, at least 5,600 years old, maybe older, and from the sea, I just think that the whole metaphor there of the old tree and the sea, along with all of the rocks, that combination, rocks, sea, and old tree, that one speaks to me.
It's a cocktail place too. That's what they call
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Right?
well, yeah. So we're gonna have adult beverages here in there along the way too. But for those that don't know, Kirk painted that picture. It's on the Carmel coast, and it is an old cypress tree. It's called the cocktail tree, but it's an old cypress tree. Beautiful rocks in the sea, and we had a debate as to where it was going to show up. I told him I wanted it in the wall where this other picture is, that so I could look at it and enjoy the fact that he painted that and that he lives in Carmel. And we had this debate, and you didn't best me, but your wife did.
Yeah.
And she
He
came
does it
up
all
with
the time to me.
Yeah, man. She said, my husband is already well hung around our house, and therefore it's going to you. And at that point, I just knew that I had nothing that I could add to the equation. It was over. I was done.
That, pal.
Thank you very much. There's the picture. You get to see it when we do these shows, but there's the picture, and your wife prevailed. So
Yeah.
I will never try to out debate Sylvia. All right, my friends, we're going to play the song. Good night. Thank you, Will. Thank you, my friend JB. Thank you, Dr. Jeff. Kirk, it's always wonderful to see you, Kevin. And there he is, the king of the cables. And I appreciate your contribution to the show and getting us launched and everything. Without Rich, we would not be here. This show.
It's a little bit of everybody, but I did go look up. God Confides in the Set Apart.
Yes.
Go check out Mizmowr 25:14.
25:14. It also says the same thing, huh?
Sod of Yahowah. SOWD.
Yeah. Oh, Sod again, huh?
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, it's, and you may have kind of, would have passed over it the first time, but yeah, the Sod of Yahowah. So it's also in the 25th.
Wow.
You know what we're ultimately doing here is we're getting Claude as our LLM to be trained to answer questions for people on the website, so that you can ask, and he will have read and processed every book. He will have challenged every translation. He will have either validated or invalidated every conclusion, and is in a position that he will be able to answer questions. And so it's one of the processes we're in right now, is having Ask Claude. We'll probably give him a different name. Any question you want about Yahowah or any one of the religions, Judaism, Islam, Christianity. And, is it true? Does this word really mean that? Is this conclusion, was Dowd actually the Mashiach? Is that case made? We will have Claude well prepared. We're building Claude's vocabulary right now, and our challenge there is that there really was only one place where there was a differentiation between the Ain and the Aleph in a transliteration, and that was the oldest version of Strong's, which does not appear online, that used a backwards and forward quotation mark to differentiate the Ain and the Aleph. And so I just used a quotation mark because Word processes quotation marks very, very strangely. And now I don't know if you guys were looking at what I sent you, but I'm now using a superscript of the Ain and the Aleph to designate the letter. So it's clear because they have very different meanings. One is the ram's and the bull's head, and the other is the eye for perceptiveness. So one's leadership, the other one's perceptiveness. And it's interesting to see which words are based on which letter. And when we do that, then we can do more than just present a glossary. We can link the glossary to the translation. So you can click on any word in the translation, it'll bring you to the meaning, but you can't do that until you do an identification of those words, either to the Strong's lexicon, which is not the best, but at least it's available to scrape, plus your definitions, Kirk, and my definitions, and you put them together and you have a glossary. But if you can use it so that you can click on the words in the presentation of the translations, then it's even more valuable. And you can't do that without identifying which word it is based upon, was it an Ain or an Aleph? And you can't tell that from my transliterations because I used just an apostrophe, and the apostrophes are in different places. For example, if it's the first letter of a transliteration, it goes before the letter. Every place else, it goes after the letter. And so there's just so many strangenesses of it. And then you look at something like a shen, at the sen actually, which isn't even a letter in Paleo Hebrew, and the shemek, they're both S's. So how do you differentiate one from the other? How do you tell which one it is? How do you differentiate the taw from the teth, which both are T's? And so we have to go through in the translations and identify either a Strong's number or identify whether it's which one of those letters it is, for us to be able to link from the translation to a definition. And so we're working on that in our spare time, and it's not as easy as you might think. There's a reason that no one's ever attempted to do what we've done. It isn't easy to do, but that's a process we're engaged in too. But you can go to now the Yahowah.com site, or yahowah.com is really replete with a wonderful translation search, and got all these songs now up in it. We'll soon have these promos, which are so much fun and so interesting, like the Dancing Abraham with Sarah coming out of Babylon. It's just so much fun. But all of them are just great. And we'll have those presented. And of course, all 35 books are presented in 3 different ways on the site. And we have the blog on the site that is kept current with X and YouTube and Facebook. And we have the vlogs that are current, both in shorts and longs, primarily featured from YouTube and played on the site. So you remain on the site while they're coming from YouTube. We have the 20 some social media platforms that we're on, and conveying this message. There's a lot to that site. It is really developed spectacularly. So we thank our good friend Joe for doing that. Yep. All right. Well, thank you. We'll play the outro. Will be our Song of the Sea, and the Song of Love of the Sea. Thank you, everyone. Happy Shabbat. Good night.
Shabbat shalom.
Bye.
what a present. Not that kind of love that closes in or asks to stay the same. This love moves mountains, it carries seas. What we couldn't hold, Yahowah loosens.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch y'all on our next podcast.